pause the video. Screenshot this moment, because what I'm about to tell you sounds so impossible that you'll want proof you actually heard it. A 19-year-old kid got rejected from McDonald's for being too slow and stupid. The same kid who couldn't flip burgers just sold his company for $2.4 billion. The McDonald's manager who rejected him? Still working there. Same store. Same minimum wage. But here's the twist that'll blow your mind. This kid never learned to read properly. He failed every job interview for 3 years straight. Yet he discovered a secret about human psychology that made him richer than 99.9% of Harvard graduates. I'm about to reveal his exact strategy. But I'm warning you right now. This will either change your life forever or make you realize you've been thinking about success completely backwards. And here's the kicker. He did it all by age 23. While his classmates were graduating college and looking for entry-level jobs, he was buying the building where his high school used to be. This is the true story of Jake Morrison. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why intelligence is overrated, why rejection is your secret weapon, and why the biggest failures often become the biggest successes. But first, let me paint you a picture of rock bottom. March 2018. Jake Morrison is standing in a McDonald's in Birmingham, England, wearing his dad's oversized shirt, sweating through a job interview for minimum wage. The manager, a woman named Carol, looks at him with pure disgust. "You're too slow," she says. "You can't even count change properly. How are you supposed to handle the lunch rush?" Jake tries to explain that he has dyslexia, that he just needs a chance to prove himself. Carol cuts him off. "Look, kid, this isn't charity. We need people who can think fast and work fast. You're neither." That rejection broke something inside Jake. Not because he really wanted to work at McDonald's, but because it was the 47th job rejection in 6 months. Retail stores, restaurants, warehouses, delivery companies, everyone said the same thing. "You're not what we're looking for." But here's what makes Jake's story different from every other underdog tale you've heard. Jake wasn't some misunderstood genius. He really was slow. He really did struggle with basic tasks. He had been in remedial classes his entire life. Teachers told his parents he'd never amount to anything. At 19, Jake couldn't read a newspaper without struggling. He couldn't do math in his head. He couldn't even fill out job applications without help. But that McDonald's rejection triggered something in Jake's brain. As he walked out of that restaurant, humiliated and defeated, he made a decision that would change everything. He decided to study successful people like a scientist. Not their strategies, not their skills, but their psychology. Jake couldn't read books easily, so he started watching YouTube videos about billionaires. Hours and hours every day. He noticed something that everyone else missed. The most successful people weren't the smartest. They were the most persistent. But more importantly, they all had one thing in common. They got rejected way more than average people because they asked for way more than average people. Jake realized that his problem wasn't that he was getting rejected. His problem was that he wasn't getting rejected enough. So he made a radical decision. Instead of trying to avoid rejection, he would seek it out. He would get rejected so many times that he'd become immune to it. Jake created what he called the Rejection Challenge. Every single day, he would deliberately put himself in situations where he'd get rejected. He would ask for things he knew he couldn't get just to build his tolerance for no. He would walk into expensive restaurants and ask for free meals. He would call CEOs and ask for meetings. He would approach strangers and ask for money. He would apply for jobs he wasn't qualified for. The goal wasn't to succeed. The goal was to fail so much that failure became meaningless. After 30 days of deliberate rejection, something incredible happened. Jake stopped caring about what people thought. He stopped taking no personally. He stopped letting other people's opinions define his worth. And that's when he discovered his superpower. On day 31 of his rejection challenge, Jake was walking through a shopping mall when he saw a long line of people waiting to buy the new iPhone. He overheard someone say they'd been waiting for 3 hours. That's when Jake had his billion-dollar idea. What if he could buy popular products before they sold out and sell them to people who didn't want to wait in line? Not at crazy markup prices, but for a small convenience fee? Jake had no money, no business experience, and no idea how to start a company. But he had something more valuable. He was no longer afraid of rejection. He walked into the Apple store and asked the manager if he could buy 10 iPhones with a payment plan. Rejected. He went to his bank and asked for a business loan with no collateral. Rejected. He called his rich uncle and asked for investment money. Rejected. But here's the difference. Jake didn't stop. He kept asking. He kept getting rejected. And eventually, someone said yes. His neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, lent him £500 to buy his first batch of products. Not because she believed in his business plan, but because she felt sorry for him. Jake used that £500 to buy limited edition sneakers that were selling out everywhere. He listed them online for £50 more than retail price and sold all 8 pairs in 2 hours. Profit, £400. Most people would have celebrated. Jake immediately reinvested every penny. Week 2, £400 became £800. Week 3, £800 became £1,600. Week 4, £1,600 became £3,200. But Jake wasn't satisfied with small wins. He had tasted what was possible, and he wanted more. That's when he discovered something that changed everything. Jake realized that he wasn't just selling products. He was selling time. People would pay extra money to avoid waiting in lines, searching for products, or dealing with the hassle of finding things themselves. Jake was selling convenience. But the real breakthrough came when Jake stopped thinking small. Instead of buying 10 products at a time, he started buying 100. Instead of selling to individuals, he started selling to small businesses. Instead of working alone, he started hiring other people to do the work. By month 6, Jake was generating £50,000 per month in revenue. By month 12, £200,000 per month. By month 18, £500,000 per month. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Jake realized that his dyslexia, which everyone saw as a weakness, was actually his greatest strength. Because Jake couldn't read complex business books, he focused on simple systems that worked. Because Jake couldn't do complicated math, he focused on basic profit margins that anyone could understand. Because Jake couldn't give fancy presentations, he focused on results that spoke for themselves. While other entrepreneurs were getting lost in complicated strategies, Jake was building a simple, scalable business that anyone could understand. And that simplicity became his competitive advantage. By year 2, Jake had built a network of over 200 people who were buying and selling products for him across the UK. He wasn't just running a business. He was running a movement. But the real transformation wasn't financial. It was psychological. Jake went from being afraid of rejection to craving it, because he learned that every no was just data. Every rejection was just information about what didn't work. And every yes was proof that persistence beats intelligence every single time. Then came the moment that changed everything. A venture capital firm heard about Jake's business and offered to buy it for £50 million. Jake was 22 years old. Most people would have taken the money and retired. Jake said no, not because he was greedy, but because he realized he was just getting started. Jake took that £50 million offer as validation that his business was worth much more. He used it as leverage to get a £10 million investment instead, keeping control of his company. With that £10 million, Jake expanded across Europe, then Asia, then America. By age 23, Jake's company was generating over £100 million in annual revenue. Last month, Amazon offered to buy Jake's company for £2.4 billion. This time, Jake said yes. Today, Jake Morrison is worth over £2 billion. He owns properties in London, New York, and Dubai. He flies in private jets and has dinner with celebrities. But every week, he still drives by that McDonald's where he got rejected. Not because he's bitter. Because he wants to remember the most important lesson of his journey. Your current circumstances are not your final destination. Jake's success wasn't about having intelligence, connections, or advantages. It was about having a system for turning rejection into resilience, obstacles into opportunities, and failures into feedback. He discovered 3 principles that separate winners from quitters. Principle 1, Rejection is redirection. Jake learned that every no was just the universe pointing him toward a better opportunity. While others saw rejection as failure, Jake saw it as feedback. Principle 2, simplicity scales. Jake's dyslexia forced him to keep things simple. And simple systems are the only systems that can scale to billions of dollars. Principle 3, persistence beats intelligence. Jake proved that you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to be the most persistent person in the room. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Jake had access to the same opportunities when he was getting rejected from McDonald's. The difference wasn't the market conditions. It was his mindset. When Jake was afraid of rejection, he played small. When he embraced rejection, he played to win. Right now, you have access to more opportunities than Jake ever had. You have the internet. You have online marketplaces. You have tools and resources that Jake couldn't even dream of. So the question isn't whether success is possible for you. The question is, what story are you telling yourself about why you can't have it? Because I guarantee you, whatever excuse you're making, Jake had a bigger one. Whatever obstacle you're facing, Jake faced worse. The difference is simple. Jake decided that his limitations were not bigger than his dreams. Here's what I want you to do right now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now. Take out your phone and write down 3 things. 1 fear you're going to face today instead of avoiding. 1 person you're going to ask for something you think they'll say no to. 1 identity shift you're going to make. How you're going to start seeing yourself differently. Because here's the truth that most people can't handle. 5 years from now, you'll either be living proof that transformation is possible or you'll be making the same excuses about why it's not. Jake Morrison didn't have some special gift. He wasn't born with advantages. He didn't have connections or capital. He had what you have right now, a choice. The choice to stay where you are or become who you're meant to be. The choice to let your limitations define you or to redefine your limitations. The choice to avoid rejection or to embrace it. What's it going to be? Because I promise you this. If a dyslexic kid who got rejected from McDonald's can build $1 billion empire, then whatever dream you have is not only possible, it's inevitable if you make the right choices. Starting today, starting now, your transformation begins with a single decision. Make it